Alright, hey everyone, this is just a short video before we actually get our hands dirty with HTML. I just want to show you just a few HTML concepts, including the Html5 boilerplate, what Emmet is and how it helps us, and also what the HTML structure is. So before I get started, please subscribe, turn on notifications, and like the video, and let's continue. So the first thing I'm going to do is open a folder. I've already done so. Just click on the File Explorer icon and just open a folder. There's a button that allows you to do that, and once you've done that, create a file by clicking on this icon and typing in index.html and hitting enter, and that should open the file for you. So to create an HTML document, what you need to do is first have the markup, right? So the way we're going to be actually looking at the web page is by opening up index.html in the browser in Google Chrome, and the way we're going to do that is by right-clicking on the index.html, reveal on File Explorer, and double-clicking that, and it should go to Google and open up an empty blank screen that says index.html in the title, and should be nothing right over here. Now, what we need to do is start putting some content in our web page, and the way we do that, if you just type in hello, I'm pretty sure nothing's going to be rendered on the screen except just text, and you'll see that this is not even a markup at all. So the way we actually get started with HTML is by providing the Html5 boilerplate. And right now I'm going to take this chance to show you what Emmet is and how it helps us. So what Emmet is, it's just a very quick and easy way of creating HTML tags. And the way you do that is by typing in the tag's name and hitting tab, and then right away you get the tag created for you along with the opening and closing tags. So then you can close it, and I'm going to delete that. And you can see there are tons of different ways that you can create things. So you can create child elements. So this right here would create a div with the UL inside it with an LI inside that. A sibling would create a div along with a P along with a block quote on the same level. Now, what we're going to be doing is first creating the HTML5 boilerplate, as I said, and the way we do that is by typing in HTML:5 tab, and then it should create this some markup for you. Now, what this markup is just as I said, the boilerplate. And what this boilerplate is, or what it does, is basically it's the markup that we're going to be having in every single HTML document that we create. We need it in order to actually make the web page an HTML5 web page. And I'm going to be going through each of these tags. So first thing, before I get started with all this markup, is have an analogy of a tree. So you can see right here the tree has a lot of branches, right? And each of those branches can have even more branches, and even those branches can have some more branches, and in the end they all end up with leaves. So what I mean to say is these branches and leaves are all elements. So we can say that these leaves are the smallest level elements. They're the least in the hierarchy, and then you can have them the branches that start from the root level to the smallest level. So when I talk about the root level, I mean the markup that's actually not nested inside anything, which is this right here. This is not a tag at all. This is not a tag. This is just something that helps the browser know what type of document to expect. So currently when we do this, it's telling the browser that we're creating an HTML5 document. And then we actually have the meat of our code right here. What it is just a head tag and a body tag, and you can see that these two are inside and nested inside the HTML element, and then you have some more nested elements inside the head tag. So that's basically what happens in HTML. You can even have some more nested elements in here, though not usually in the head tag. The head tag, these all the elements inside the head tag are usually just metadata, and that's what I'm going to be talking about next. So the meta tag stands for metadata, basically, and it represents various kinds of metadata that cannot be expressed using the some tags. And this first tag helps the browser understand what encoding we're going to be using. UTF-8, that is the most common type, and of course there is UTF-16, UTF-32. You can research into what UTF encoding is. However, we're going to be using UTF-8 always. And then you have the meta tag that has a fallback. I believe this is a fallback for Internet Explorer. It says XEUA compatible. I don't know what that means, but just keep it there. If Emmet tells you to have it, then you should. And then this last meta tag is just talking about the viewport. It gives the content to be width equals device width, initial scale equals 1.0, which just stands for, which just means that we're going to be using it in order to actually look up the browser's width, so what the width is, in order to actually style our elements later when we get to the CSS section. Because in some cases you may want an image, for example, to take up half of the screen. However, when you reach phone size, you might want to go full screen because it would be too small, or it would look ridiculous if it was half the screen's width. And then you have this last title tag right over here, and this is exactly what you think it is. It's the title of the tab or the document. And so if I refresh, you'll see that this title right over here becomes a document. So we're going to be changing that right now to my first HTML5 web page. And that's going to, when we refresh this, it's going to change the title to my first HTML5 web page. And there is another tag called the link tag, and you can do link tab, and then that should make this tag for you. You can see it has an href attribute, and if you recall my last video, I talked about the anchor tag, the anchor element, which is basically the hyperlink or link in a web page, and you can have multiple of them. So a link or a hyperlink in a web page, and what it does, what the href attribute in an anchor tag does, is actually specify when you click the link where where it should go, right? To which path or to which website you should go to. The same thing, almost exact same thing for this link href attribute. This href attribute stands for the URL of the linked resource. So it can be absolute or relative, means that it can be from your files, from your folder's root directory, or from the relative directory that the HTML file is in. And what we do in this is actually link CSS files, usually because it's a style sheet, right? The names relationship of the linked document to the current document, and you can read more about that later. And what we're going to be doing is actually linking them later once we reach CSS. And so what happens is the link actually includes the CSS file along with the HTML file when we open up the HTML file, so that we don't need to open up CSS and index.html by themselves, and it's not even possible to open up CSS files in the browser. So that's what link file does. And then you have a really important tag called the body tag. It is where the content or the meat of the document will be created. So all the markup that's going to be inside here, inside the content of the web page, will be inside the body tag as well. So I'm going to just show you an example. Headings, and I'm going to be introducing headings right away. There are 6 headings that you can use in the HTML5, and they are H1, H2, H3, all the way until H6, and they can actually specify a heading, and I'll show you what that is. Heading 1 on the size, you'll see it's this big, right? And you can make multiple of these, spanning all the way until H3. Do that, and this should create 3 different headings. And if you notice, they're all in different lines. You may think that's the case because I've indented them on new lines in HTML5 in my document. However, if I delete this space, it's still going to be on different lines. And the reason for that is because if I inspect it, and this is a chance for me to show you what the Chrome Inspector tool is. So you can open that up using right-click Inspect, or by clicking Control-Shift-I. And what it does is opens up the Elements tab on the Inspector toolbar. You also have this console for when we get to JavaScript, and then you have sources, network, etc. So you can see right here, you can see index.html. You can actually see the whole source file inside this tab itself. And then you can actually view the code, or view the markup that's inside the file that's been rendered right now. And you can see heading 1, heading 2, heading 3. And if you want to look at the styles, and that's we're actually going to be skipping a bit. However, I just want to show you that all the HTML elements that we see are going to have some default styling. They're not going to be good at all, so they're going to look disgusting. However, you can see this has this H1 has a style called display and it's set to block. So what that means is it takes up the whole width of the HTML element. And you can see that here. And if I change that to actually be display inline, and you don't need to worry about this at all, just want to show you that this is the way that you can override settings in the browser. You can see they actually move onto the same line. And if I inspect them now, they are only taking up how much space their content or their text takes. And then this heading 3 still takes up the whole amount of space that it can, so the width is 100%. And one thing to note, just editing it in here in the Chrome toolbar or in the Chrome Inspector tool will not actually edit anything in your file. So once I refresh this, it's actually going to reset back to whatever it was. And so this is just a handy little way of actually understanding how what the margins are, what the paddings are on certain elements, and that comes to another topic called the box model, but I'm not going to be talking about the CSS box model yet. We are actually going to be saving that aside until we get to the CSS section. So that's pretty much it for the headings. You can see they have all different sizes all the way until H6, and now I'm going to use a new element called the P element, and or the paragraph element, and it's exactly what what you think it is. It is it creates paragraphs. So inside here, I'm going to be showing you how to create a dummy text using Emmet. So what you type is lorem, and then a number for how much you want to, and then tab, and then it creates that many words of lorem ipsum. And if you don't know what lorem ipsum is, it's just some dummy text that actually makes it look like real text, so that you can actually see how text is being formatted on a web page instead of you just typing in random stuff, and it may actually not look like text at all. So when I refresh the page, you can see lorem ipsum blah 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 until here. And now I'm going to show you the default styling for it. If I copy this and paste, and the way I did that was going on the line Control-C, Control-V. It doesn't work on Mac unless you actually copy the whole line and then paste it in the next line. So I refresh the page, you can see there's a new line, and that is again because it has some default styling. It actually has a margin bottom, which pushes the whole all the content down a certain amount, and you can actually edit that in the CSS style tool. Now I'm going to get rid of this because you don't need that. However, I'm just going to keep some text, hi, some text, and that's going to be showing up right here. Now, just coming to a very, very important topic called divs and spans. So what they are, the div element, it is a container that represents its children, and then you have something called the span element, which also just represents its children. So both of these are containers, and they don't mean anything on its own. However, when you put things in it, you can actually group them using this div and span. So what spans are, they don't actually take up a whole new line. Divs do. So for example, if I have this some text here, hello, hi, hello, and then I have another paragraph, and then I put the paragraph over underneath the div, we'll actually see it gets pushed down one bit. But if I hadn't put that here, if I hadn't used the div, then what would have happened is, 1 second, this text would not have any, you would not be able to inspect this text because it's not an HTML element. However, you could inspect this, which is the reason that there is something called the p tag. So you shouldn't just be typing in text instead of putting it inside a p tag. It's really easy. Just put it inside the p tag, and it'll format it correctly, and it will also know it is actually an element. Now, getting back to what divs and spans are, divs actually take up the whole line. So if I had something like here, hello, and then another div that said hi, they would actually take up their own block. But there's no margin on the bottom or left, so on the bottom or top, so they're not going to be spaced out or anything. They're going to be very close to each other. Again, the div is not any alternative to the p tag. You should actually be doing this and putting the hello inside the p tag. However, if I had just done hello and then hi, and even if I'd put them on new lines here, what would happen is they would be mushed together because they are not individual elements, have no styling at all. So they're just normal text that's been placed on the browser. Now, coming to spans, what spans do, they actually don't take up the whole block. What they do instead is actually you can use them to style certain parts. So for example, if I have a span on just this text, and I put the span in here, what happens, nothing is actually going to happen. It's going to look exactly the same. However, when I inspect it, you can see there is a span that has text inside of it. So what the span lets us do is it's really helpful in some cases. For example, if we're creating a heading that has a logo or something that says, for example, let's say the code house, and I want to style code differently, what I could do is, instead of having a div, because what would happen if I had a div, think about it, it would actually make the code go on a new line, and then the house would also be on a new line, and that would look disgusting, and we would never be able to style it at all. So that's why we have the span element, and I'm also going to be introducing you to the style attribute, which helps us style elements. And you shouldn't be, you don't need to learn any of this. However, just know that there is a style attribute, and then you have something called color, and then you can actually use CSS inside here and separate them using semicolons. And if you don't know CSS or what CSS is yet, doesn't matter, we are going to cover it in the CSS section of this course. So just watch what I'm doing. Color to become orange, and what should happen is just the code text should become orange, and the rest is black as default. So that's just an example of what span helps us do. It helps us create containers that don't take up new lines or take up any space other than whatever content is inside. Now, one last element I'm going to be showing you is the A element, and it has an href attribute, which we can set to https://www.google.com. And I'm going to be showing you another attribute called it's really helpful. It specifies where the anchor tag should open in, so you can actually specify it to actually just open it in the normal tab as it usually does. So for example, if I clicked on a link, this is actually a link, it would go in this tab, right? But sometimes you have tabs that go into new tabs, links that go into new tabs once you click it, and those are actually they actually have different attributes, and you can search that up, and I'm going to show you how to look that up. Go through schools, open link, a new tab, and what you'll see is you have to set the target attribute to blank and underscore blank. So we're going to set the target attribute, and you can actually read it, read the text of what it does. You can set it to self. This is the default behavior. Blank, it loads the URL into a new browsing context. So what we're going to be doing is doing blank. And when we click it, whoops, there's nothing to click. The anchor tag is labeled by whatever content is inside. So we need to specify some text for the link to for the link to have. And when we click go to Google, it opens in a new page, in a new tab. And that's really cool, so you can experiment around with it, along with parent and top. And then you can read all of this too. Pretty much it for today. I just want to show you, I don't want to get our hands too dirty with HTML. That is going to be happening in the next class. Next class, you're going to we're going to be creating an online scrapbook sort of thing. It's going to help us understand HTML a way lot better, and it's going to make us much more experienced with HTML5. So that's coming up day after tomorrow. And before I finish off, and like the video, and just as a recap of what we've done, we've learned about what the Html5 boilerplate is, what Emmet is. You should actually look at their docs, it's really impressive. And one thing I want to show you is how you can actually create attributes really quickly. Instead of doing href, you can actually have href equals blank. And href equals blank. https://www.google.com. And when I hit tab, it's actually going to create an anchor tag with the href to google.com, and that's actually even faster than creating just an a tag and then typing in the href attribute. So we're going to be using Emmet a lot when we create HTML elements, so look more into that and research a bit if you want to, and you can always look at their docs, emmet.io/docs. And that's pretty much it, except we talked also about the spans and divs, and then also what the HTML5 boilerplate consists of, including the head tag, body tag, meta tag, title tag, and you should know what all of these do. And so that's pretty much it. Thank you. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and like the video. Share the video with friends and family if it helped you out. And bye for now.